Welcome back. Today's podcast is From Silent to Successful, Master the Art of Talking Real Estate. So, Miss Julie Harris, why is it that you felt that this was such an important topic that we dedicate an entire podcast to it?
Well, I think you and I both would agree that many real estate transactions, over 80% of them, closer to 90% of them, are coming from what you would say is an organic source. It's a referral from a trusted friend or advisor. It's somebody that already knew that you were in real estate. And when you look at a beautiful new listing, you say, gosh, I wonder how that agent got that. It's probably because the seller already knew them.
Let's attach an actual NAR statistic to that. After 5 years, 63% of all your transactions will come from centers of influence and past clients. Mm-hmm. And the more successful people get, they have the longer they're in the business, the more transactions that they do. They have a tendency to increase that percent, to close to what Julie just said. And some of the most successful agents in the country who've been in the business for decades, usually selling the most expensive real estate, are they're basically getting 90% of their business from centers of influence and past clients. So there's some actual facts.
Mm-hmm. That's right. And so the thing is, that only happens when you're talking about real estate all the time. And we know that when you are what we lovingly call a secret agent, you are probably not hitting that kind of statistics, right? You're probably not getting lots of repeat and referral, organic deals. It's because maybe you're just not confident to talk about real estate when you're out doing your daily things, when you're going to the grocery store, you're taking your kids to school, you're going to the pharmacy, you're depositing that commission check at the bank. So as a real estate agent, being able to answer two key questions confidently can make or break your business. It's not just about what you do, but also how you communicate your expertise in today's market. So in this podcast, we're going to show you how to stop being that secret agent and master two essential conversations. One is what we call your elevator pitch. That's what is it that you do? And how to answer the other question that you'll get, how's the market? And I've had a lot of conversations with many coaching clients, and this is not just for newbies, by the way. This is for everyone who needs to know, how do I answer that question? I mean, especially when agents maybe had a bad day or something like that, and they want to go into their long diatribe. No, how's the market? How to be positive, how to talk about that, and how to engage.
And this is especially important this time of year. Well, any time of year, but especially this time of year, because you're going to be doing more, you should be doing more social things this time of year. You're going to be, going to parties. You're going to be going to maybe some fundraisers. You're going to be going to church events. You're going to be all those things.
Well, you should be anyway.
You should be, right. You should be absolutely putting your, it's generally speaking for most of the country, it's slower this time of year. We're going to the slowest time of year. Now, I realize in some markets that's not the case, but for the most part. So opposed to, don't just sit behind your keyboard and hide out and be that secret agent hiding out in your bat cave, right? Go out and overtly have conversations, do things that you love doing around other people that also love doing the same things, and make the conversations just organically flow to talking about real estate. Because that's the thing. You are selling something that everyone is curious about. They want to, everyone wants to know what's going on in the market. Everyone wants to know what's going on, because of this and because of that. And Julie's point, and really I can see why she wanted to make this a topic, agents I wouldn't say inability, but nervousness about having conversations about real estate in, social settings. That really goes back to your lack of confidence. It really goes back to your lack of skills. And so what is it, Julie? Ignorance
knowledge equals confidence, and ignorance equals fear. So if you're ignorant of how to handle a real estate conversation, you're probably not going to say anything at all, which means that you're not going to get those deals. They're going to think of somebody else, that's not going to be your deal. So go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, and the other reason that I think a lot of agents don't talk about real estate is because they're afraid to be perceived as just being at this social event because I'm just here to get real estate leads.
Right.
Like they have all these internal conversations going on in their head, which really don't make any sense.
We hear that all the time.
And so if you're not willing to have conversations with folks about real estate and you're wanting them to perceive you as a real estate professional, and you have knowledge that might benefit them greatly, or just, maybe will satisfy their interest, and you're not sharing it, you're telling them that you're not a professional. You're telling them that you're not motivated. You're telling them that you're not interested in doing business with them. So you're worried sometimes, some of you, not all of you, but by having conversations about real estate in these social settings about being perceived negatively. But the interesting thing is, and think about this, you're actually being perceived negatively by not at least allowing the conversation to organically flow to talking about real estate, which is what everyone's going to want to see you as, and what you want them to see you as is the go-to real estate, expert in your particular market.
That's right. So how do you go about that? We're going to talk about two different conversations, starting with number one, crafting, honing, and crushing your elevator pitch. What is an elevator pitch? That's a new term for some of you. An elevator pitch is a brief, impactful summary of who you are and what you do, designed to capture somebody's interest in 30 seconds or less. This is like a first impression conversation. It's not about a canned response. It's about delivering a memorable message that sets you apart. And there's 3 key points to this elevator speech. Number 1, clarity is key. Who are you and what do you do? Instead of saying, I'm a real estate agent, because some of you are weird about that, make it clear and valuable. Try something more like, I help people buy or sell or invest in real estate. That says what you do. This straightforward approach makes your role easy to understand and emphasizes your services.
Let's add a little bit of spice to that. So when you are out and about, you should always dress. Let's just talk about how they should appear that will ignite conversations about real estate.
Make it easier for them.
Right. Now, some people, the bold amongst you, will wear overt real estate, a name badge, or some of you will do it. I realize it's the 0.0001% that'll actually do it.
That's true.
But for the most part, the way you can actually have conversations with folks where they're going to immediately see you as a professional is, dress like one. And so whatever the appropriate attire is for whatever you're going, dress just like a half a notch or a whole notch above it. And that's a really key differentiator in the marketplace. I don't want you walking to the beach in a 3-piece suit, right? Unless, of course, everyone else is wearing 3-piece suits at the beach, which I doubt,
I don't
right?
know what that market is.
But, don't necessarily go there looking like a beach bum, because you're going to be telling them something about yourself by your actual physical presentation. That should seem obvious to all of you, but a lot of agents get stuck on, I'm not going to change how I look. People are just going to have to do business with me. They'll do business with me because of me, and all these egotistical type, thoughts. Whereas the reality of it is your highest and truest purpose on this planet is to be of service to other people. So you have to make yourself appealing to them. Okay. Their job is not to find you appealing because of how you're trying to present yourself and, trying to dress in a certain way or have, purple hair or a whole bunch of piercings. I've had coaching clients, Julie and I have had coaching clients who've basically lost business and, have struggled because they spent way too much time overthinking how to create their personal brand, because they were trying to express themselves. It was like wanting to be seen. They were looking for recognition, whereas the reality of it is they should have been trying to be more appealing to what the folks that they wanted to do business with actually were searching for in a real estate professional. Does that make sense?
That's absolutely very well said. If you want to be treated as a professional, as somebody that people want to transact with, who want to trust with. Think about real estate buying and selling is most people's largest transaction of their life. If you want to be trusted with that on their behalf, you need to look that way. Make them curious. If it's somebody that doesn't already know you're in real estate, make them curious about what it is that you do.
Tell your story about when you went to orchestra practices when you were, you said semi-private, but I'm semi-professional, tell that story.
Okay, so, I'm a band and orchestra geek other than real estate. And so I would go to all of these rehearsals, right? And usually this was after everybody had gone to work, and people would show up in sweatpants and jeans and whatever. Well, I would always make it a point to be one notch nicer. As Tim said, I'm not wearing a complete suit, but I'm wearing nice shoes. I'm, a nice put together outfit, jewelry, the whole thing, have my nails put together, etc. And people would always say, gosh, you always look so nice. Because the key to doing this is when it's something like that, always look that way. Don't make it like a one-off that you randomly got your act together, right? So they would say, what do you do for a living? And I said, well, I help people buy and sell real estate. I just came from a closing, or just came from a showing. I just came from a preview. Oh, that's interesting. Then it causes more conversation. That's what you want.
But she did, that little visual thing triggered conversations about real estate, because everyone else at this practice, her practices were always after normal working hours. That's when orchestras practice. And guess what? Everyone else was dressed slovenly, and she'd always dress up nice. And, we got dozens and dozens of deals from her orchestra. Yep. She was involved in 2 of them. And I assure you, dear listener, Julie was not walking in there and pressing her business card in everybody's hand.
When do you plan on moving?
Exactly.
Wasn't doing that.
Ever. I bet you never had a conversation like that. That's not who you are. And so the conversations would gear, it just as you just described. So do keep these things in mind. If you're not generating interest in yourself as a real estate professional, maybe think about your own personal packaging.
Yes, that's right. So, and not all of them have orchestra rehearsals to go to, but maybe you're going to a meeting at your kid's school, or maybe you're going to a soccer game. You're doing something when you're out there. I would say even when you're going to get groceries If I had to just get something really fast, I would go to not our exact market grocery store. I'd go to the one next to it. But generally speaking, when you run into people, especially if you're going to run into past clients and friends, look your best. If it takes an extra 15 minutes, it's well worth it. Okay, so the next thing, when we're talking about the elevator speech, define your value. Why should people care about who you are and what you do? Be direct about how you solve problems. Do you specialize in fast sales or in a specific niche? For example, I ensure sellers get the best price without the hassle of endless negotiations. Or maybe what you're working on lately is handling, sales when somebody's got to buy and sell at the same time without having two mortgages at once.
Let me lean into this one. So at eXp Realty, there's something called Zenlist. And what Zenlist is essentially an organized off-market database. And so a seller can choose to not have their house publicly for sale, put it on Zenlist. And it's just, like I said, it just acts as a database that's available for eXp agents. And it's going to, other brokers do things similarly, but that's a nice little startup of a conversation, because what every buyer wants to know about is a house for sale that they don't know about, that's not publicly for sale, thus the mentioning of Zenlist. And what every seller wants to know is what's their house worth. And maybe there's a comp that you know about through Zenlist, for example, that would make their property worth more, or help them to have more information to assess value. You guys get it? So when the best way to make yourself seem desirable is to establish that you have access to information that is scarce. Because nowadays, with virtually all the more generalized information being available online for free, there's no way to differentiate yourself with just basically giving them the generalized knowledge that they can get on their Zillow app. You guys get it? Now, here's another thing you want to keep in mind. Always, and Julie's going to get into this in a second, but whatever people say to you, I don't want to jump on your scripts,
That's okay.
but whatever people say to you, how's the market? Be careful on how you answer that. Because again, if they have just read 1,000 articles about the market being great or the market being bad, and you give them an answer that seems to be self-serving, they're going to discount you. You're going to lose from all the, to all the news sources that they rely upon. So make sure you're in alignment with what they expect. So when they ask you, how's the market? Because that is a question you guys should be getting a lot. You say, well, you know what? I'm curious how you think the market is. What are you seeing? And let's listen to what they have to say. And then you don't necessarily have to agree with what they said if they're wrong, but you don't want to necessarily argue with them about what they're wrong. While I heard that homes in our homes in XYZ subdivision aren't selling, well, you might be surprised, I think even thrilled to know that actually they are selling. The days in the market has increased by only 12 days on the market, but sellers are almost getting at least close to full asking price. So this market is still amazingly hot. By the way, do you know if anyone is thinking about buying or selling real estate that I should be helping in this market?
Well, exactly. And we're going to drill down on that. How's the market question, answering that with confidence. I like what you just did there, though, is to be frosty about what's actually happening, because if they're reading something that you're not up to speed on, well, this is one of the things that makes them not talk about real estate, is that they feel insecure about it.
But there's another angle to that. So if someone dear listener, who's in control? The person asking the question or the person answering the question, right? You know the answer already, right? The person asking the question is the one in control. So they're going to ask you the normal question. It's kind of like hey, Julie, how are you? It's the version of that, if Julie's a real estate agent, is, hey, Julie, how's the real estate market, right? Mm-hmm. People aren't even really thinking about what they're saying sometimes. So your move on that one, so you're not making yourself uncomfortable, like I said, is to pivot and ask them a question. Yep. It's been great. So far, there's been some market adjustments, but I can't believe how quick homes are selling. What do you think's going on in the market, or what are you seeing? Ask them their opinions, because everyone's going to have an opinion.
That's right. That's one thing that's for sure. So let's hover just for a second on this whole elevator pitch conversation. Then we're going to go more to how's the market. So your elevator pitch should never feel rehearsed to you. Once you've introduced yourself, ask questions. Tim just said that. Who's in control? The one asking questions. Your job is to engage your listener. I wrote down 4 examples. There's an endless supply of examples.
That first one's kind of ratty. Go to the second one.
Okay. What are you most curious about in real estate right now? Everybody has questions about real estate. The headlines are all over the place. Somebody has a real estate question.
You could also start out by saying, did you know, like a little gossipy sounding? Did you hear about the house that just sold? Or did you hear about the new listing?
Local knowledge.
Right.
Yeah.
Don't talk crap about any of the sellers, or don't say anything bad about anybody.
And don't go into your long, this is what agents do all the time. I just had the most disastrous closing, or I'm into it with this agent and I hate them. They're so terrible. They don't care about any of that.
Your real estate coach probably is the only one that wants to hear a story like that. But other than that, Nobody wants to know. But do have, again, the scarcity of information is what's going to make you valuable. And every time if someone trips over you at, wherever, and hopefully not literally trips over you, but when you're in conversation with folks, if you're always sprinkling a little bit of scarce knowledge on them, they're going to remember that. And you've kind of carved out this little niche of somebody that knows things that the normal agent doesn't. You can find those things that normal agents don't know just by knowing how to do a really good CMA and understanding your market. Or like I said, the whole Zen list thing. Actually, this would be a good time to mention. Julie and I have been directly involved with eXp Realty since 2019. It's been one of the best business decisions we've ever made. If you are looking for a change in your real estate career trajectory, whether you're a new agent or an experienced agent, we strongly encourage you to look at eXp Realty. And furthermore, we'd love for you to be partners with us at eXp Realty. So if you'd like more information about eXp, if you're just in the beginning stages of trying to decide if you want to move up to eXp Realty, or maybe you're just new in the real estate business, whatever. Maybe you're a broker or you're a team and you're wanting to understand maybe what you're trying to understand why so many big teams and brokers are moving over to eXp, because that is what's happening. We've made it easy for you. Text the letters EXP to 47372. Text the letters EXP to 47372. Or if you're ready to join eXp Realty and you've not yet chosen a sponsor, you can text me directly on my cell phone. And yes, this is my real life cell phone, 512-758-0206. So if you're just getting started and you want more information, text the letters EXP to 47372 and we'll text you back a link to our group's website. Or if you're ready to land the plane and choose a broker and you'd like to be partners with Julie and I at eXp Realty, just text me directly at 512-758-0206.
All right, so back to you being comfortable talking about real estate. I think we've drilled down a lot about knowing something to talk about. I was thinking as you were talking, if I was talking to, especially an agent in California, you and I were sharing this spectacular, most beautiful listing that we've probably ever seen. I always have something in the back of my mind about that.
We have to talk about it.
Yes. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, it was for sale. It's for sale now for $20 million. But it is, as Julie said.
Spectacular.
Yeah, it's in Big Sur. If you guys want to see it, it is in the MLS. It's in Realtor.com or wherever else. Yeah, so you should check it out. It's 54 acres, all on the coast. And the pictures, and obviously don't do it justice, but there's some videos on YouTube. Just check it out. I've given you enough information.
It's stunning.
$20 million, Big Sur, California. It is bonkers gorgeous. So yes.
Yes. So why do I bring that up? Because assuming that all of you are out there showing property, you're having conversations, you're looking at new construction, you're looking at land, whatever it is, it's okay to talk about something that makes you animated and excited because it demonstrates that you are actually out there in the wild. You're not just a hobbyist. You're actively looking for property for your buyers. You might even talk about, I've got this couple that's relocating from Atlanta, and gosh, they're just dying to live in this area. They haven't been able to find anything yet. Who do you know who lives in the 123 zip code, who is in this school district, who's maybe getting ready to sell? You link these things together and you become conversational.
Yeah, you can also spin off and talk about the fact that with lowering interest rates, it's actually opening the door for, a lot, obviously lower payments, but more people are considering moving up because guess what? The house that they wanted to purchase isn't going to, the payment on it's not going to be as bad as it was, say, 90 days ago. Things like that. But you're going to have to become more comfortable having conversations that are going to be unique and bring value to who you're talking to. That's the main thing that we're hoping you understand from today's show is bring value to the person. Like on this podcast, do you guys feel like we bring value to you? I know you do, because literally thousands of you listen every single day. The podcast has well over 1 million downloads per year. Why are so many people listening to us? It's because we bring value, because we're telling you what to say. We're giving you scripts. We're giving you plans. We're showing you the way as much as we can on a 30-minute podcast, how to be of service to other people and how to make money, right? Well, that should be your mindset when it comes to talking with consumers about buying or selling real estate. Always have a few things at the tip of your fingers, like what we've been giving, little hints and suggestions, and make it, Julie's idea there was great. Make it so whatever you want to talk about is something that kind of excites you. Some of you who are going to be low emotion and very analytical in nature, you're going to want to kind of go into a long diatribe, spreadsheet conversation about the market. You want to avoid that. Talk about something that you saw that really surprised you. Did you see that new listing? Or did you hear that this is happening? Or do you know about the new subdivision?
Yes, I have one more, that goes along those lines. Everybody's talking about how rates aren't quite low enough yet. We're waiting. So talk about a closing you just had where you had a client, or even if it wasn't yours, I'm giving it to you now. There are lots of closings happening right now that do have less than market rate interest rates. there's 2 or 3 different ways that we have taught you how to do on recent podcasts, how to buy down the rate, how to buy new construction where the builder's buying down the rate. So that's a talking point. Did you know that there's many different ways that you can fight the higher rate than you want, right? I mean, even owner financing is a discussion, assumable rate. There's like 5 different ways that you don't have to pay the going rate. Did you know that? And most people don't know that. Most people just hear on the news that the 30-year fixed is whatever it is.
And you can have conversations like, you're going to get this time of year. Well, we're going to wait for rates to fall. If we do a real estate, we want to sell our house, but whether it's 90 days or whether it's 6 months or a year, it doesn't really matter. We're just kind of timing the market. People will say stuff like that, and then you can ask questions of them. Remember, be a question asker. Don't try to avoid being an answerer, and say, well, so let me ask you: when rates fall, like what would be an acceptable rate? And they're going to say something like 5.5%, 5.3%, which, by the way, is definitely coming to a mortgage market near you within the next 12 months. But just say to them, okay, so you're thinking around 5.5%. That makes sense. So what do you think is going to happen to the value of real estate or the cost of real estate when interest rates go down? Will there be more buyers that want to purchase homes or fewer buyers that want to purchase homes? And of course, they're going to say more. And so what will that do again to the cost of purchasing real estate? I mean, what are you anticipating the values to be, say, a year from now when rates are lower? And they're all going to say, logically, they're going to say higher. And then, so would it make sense for you to purchase now, even if it isn't the ideal interest rate, and then refinance when rates are lower? I mean, that's what a lot of folks that I'm working with right now are doing. They're taking advantage of what they really, I think logically are believing is going to happen, that home values are going to go up, maybe by a significant amount over the next, 2 to 10 years. So doesn't it make sense? I mean, they have. I mean, everyone's going to see that over the last 3 or 4 years, home values have gone up by 50 or 60%. So just keep all these thoughts in mind, dear listener, when you're talking with folks. By the way, if you want our notes from today's podcast, make sure you go to harrisrealestatedaily.com and subscribe. You get all that day's notes. And Josh, our new newsletter guru, is doing a phenomenal job. So if you are getting this newsletter subscriptions now, if you're already a subscriber, make sure you're seeing that we're adding a lot more content to the newsletter. So if you're not a subscriber, it doesn't cost you anything. Just go to harrisrealestatedaily.com and you'll get that day's notes from that podcast, as well as the actual podcast sent directly to your email.
All right, perfect. Let's get into part 2, answering, and we touched on this already. How's the market? How do you talk about that with confidence? When somebody asks, how's the market? Be prepared with a clear data-based response, especially local data is very valuable. This is your chance to demonstrate your expertise and to build trust. And Tim just alluded to this a second ago about prices going up and continuing to go up. You can answer it. The market has been especially great for sellers considering the recent increase in home values. Did you know that since 2019, pre-pandemic, U.S. home values have increased significantly with prices rising by over 40% nationwide. And in 2024, the average home's value is between $375 and $400 compared to only $248 in 2019. In some regions like the South and West, maybe you live in the South or the West, have experienced even greater appreciation. For a time in Boise, it was like 78%.
But for the sake of having these conversations that are, brief and powerful, just have some actual comps and maybe use some stories. Everyone loves stories. Well, the Robinsons over at 123 Elm Street, I sold them that house 5 years ago, and I had this wonderful opportunity to share with them what the home was worth because I was looking at a value of another home for another buyer, and I saw that their house is probably worth maybe twice as much as what they paid for it. And I have to tell you, I'm so excited about telling them. I think I'm going to put a bow on it and call it their Christmas present this year.
Exactly. Very conversational, and it is valuable. You did something without realizing it, I think, there. Is talking about somebody else, a different situation. So it's not just like in their face, when do you plan on moving? It's, gosh, I got to tell you that I just had this thing happen, or I just noticed this really amazing comp, this really amazing property, whatever. Okay, so.
Well, just hover there. So if you don't have a relevant story, use somebody else's story, and you can, but don't lie. Say, look, I just heard this. So you just heard on a podcast, dear listener, me say what I just said. Right. So now that's your story to share. And just say, well, I just heard this, and I thought this is just what you just said, Mr. Prospective Seller. just triggered me to think of this thing I just heard that I think you'll appreciate. I sold this house, 5 years ago to the Robinsons and same thing. You guys get it? By the way, a lot of you are joining Premier Coaching right now, and it makes sense. We always have a lot of agents join Premier Coaching in fourth quarter every year. And, we've given you guys an early Christmas gift, early Hanukkah gift, or what have you, right? You could join Premier Coaching right now for free. All you've got to do is just go to premiercoaching.com, and premiercoaching.com is, I think, our, premier coaching program, because it delivers such tremendous value. You get a daily semi-private coaching call with a Harris certified coach, and you get full access to the first level of Premier Coaching for free, as well as a daily semi-private coaching call with a Harris certified coach. The next natural, smart thing for you to do is just go to premiercoaching.com, or if you'd like, you can text the word Premier,
Premier,
to 47372. But either way, definitely you want to join Premier Coaching right away. Don't make the mistake of saying, I'm going to procrastinate until first quarter of next year. Just go ahead and do it now. Go to premiercoaching.com.
All right, so some of you are wondering, how is it that I can stay up with all of this local data? And you definitely want to do this for many, many different reasons. One is it makes you better at pricing property. Number two is it shows you where there's listings that are not just in your MLS. It shows you trends. You need to be frosty on this. I personally, because I have coaching clients and because the podcast, I spend probably 20 to 30 minutes every morning reviewing things like what you're going to do, your MLS hot sheet, okay? You can set up your MLS hot sheet to be delivered to your inbox every single day, and you can even customize it just for the areas that you're working if you like, or you can do a broader search if you're, working like you interviewed the Kenmores a week ago. They were doing Tri-Cities. So there's 3 cities that they look at.
That's a good thing to mention. Even if you should literally have either on your phone or in your back pocket, immediate instant access to the MLS hot sheet. Not so that way, if someone's actually asking you real, information, you don't have to look it up. You actually have it saved, right? But don't be embarrassed if you actually have to look at a piece of paper or a screen to tell them the answers, because they'll appreciate the fact you actually are organized enough.
Yes, for sure.
So don't try to let your ego say, well, they're going to think I was, less than professional because I didn't have the exact list to sell price ratio memorized.
No, it's the opposite.
So the answer, when someone asks you a question, I love that question, and I've got the answer right here. Let me look it up for you so I can give you the absolute up-to-date current information on your question.
That's right. The other one that I like is List Reports. I look at that every single morning. It's a tool that provides personalized marketing materials. They have little snapshots that you can use for your social media for your local markets. It's really cool. Charts and graphs and reports and stats and all that. Altos Research, Mike Simonson does this at least every week, and then a bigger update every month. That gives you real-time data on, you tell it what you want, and then he does some overall videos as well. New Home Source I use on virtually every coaching call to see what is the new construction in particular areas. A lot of times agents will say, well, I don't have any new construction. Well, how would you know? Go to newhomesource.com. You put in your zip code. You click around the map. If you don't get anything in your exact zip code, you just say 20-mile radius. It tells you who's building what, where, what are their promotional homes. You're probably not going to see that stuff in the MLS. I go there just to see, what's actually being built. What are the builder relationships that a client could be going after? So those are just 4 things. There's a lot more resources that can give you this. But if you spend 30 minutes a day, you're going to be on top of it, and your conversations will be so much more robust. You will show yourself to be the specialist in your area for real estate. So by perfecting your elevator pitch and confidently answering, how's the market? You can stop being a secret agent and start becoming the go-to expert in your sphere. So master those 2 conversations, and you're going to get more referrals, more trust, more business opportunities. And remember, when something comes your way, and maybe it's a little bit out of your wheelhouse because you've stopped being a secret agent, maybe somebody asks you about some piece of commercial property that isn't your thing, you can say, gosh, it'd be my pleasure to help you with that. Tell me more about it. And then you can always partner with somebody. You can ask your coach, or you can learn how to do it.
You're touching on something. Never say no to opportunity.
That's right.
And so if someone asks you, do you do this? Do you do the other thing? You always say yes. And even if you've never done it before, you can always refer to somebody afterwards. Mm-hmm. Sometimes people will just spark up conversations. Oh, I was just thinking about buying a ranch property for some getaway on the weekends or whatever. Do you work on ranch property? And let's say you sell urban, condos or, whatever. And so, no, you don't know anything about ranch property, but you know what? Say yes, sure, I'd love to help you with that. Tell me more about what you're looking for. And then they're going to, within 10 minutes, tell you, you know what? Now I've thought about it. I don't want a ranch property. I'm actually thinking about buying a penthouse or something, right? So never say no. It doesn't matter where you are in your career. Never be so picky. Always have the mindset of service. And if you get into the conversations and it's not for you, something that's truly out of your wheelhouse and never will be in your wheelhouse, refer that thing off. Get a referral fee.
Yeah, that's right. And when you're looking at your daily hot sheet, you are going to know more than you would not looking at that. You're going to have noticed 3 days ago that there was this really cool ranch that just got listed that you've been dying to see anyway. So don't be so closed to what you do and don't do. Always say yes, get help. That's why we have coaching.
Yep. And so here's another little blessing of all of this. You're going to be having these, welcoming, I should say, these conversations with folks that pretty much already know you. You're not going to very, very rarely are you really going to have a, conversation with a complete stranger that's going to lean into some meaningful real estate conversation. But that's not who Julie and I are thinking about that you're missing the opportunity with. That are all the people that are in your centers of influence and your past clients. So your centers of influence, you have to keep in mind, they're not just your friends and your family and neighbors. It's your dry cleaner, it's your dog walker, it's your dental hygienist, it's the person that does your hair, it's your whatever. The list of folks that are familiar with you, if they were to see you on the street, would say, oh, hi, you're the da-da-da-da, right? Those are all the folks that you need to start having these overt conversations with, because that is how you create lots of sources of referrals. And the more people you're friendly with, the more knowledgeable and comfortable and confident you are having these conversations, you're bringing value to these other folks. Frankly, the more easier your business and easier your life is going to get, for sure.
Well, that's right. So if I were to call people in your database, some of you are like, well, I don't have a database. You do. It's in your phone at the very least, right?
It's what she means. You have a database, but you might not have any past clients. Or you've been in the business forever, you have a bunch of past clients, but you have no database.
Exactly. But if I were to call people that we would say are in your sphere and ask them, excuse me, what is it that Tim does for a living, right? If I go to your kid's teacher, what does Bob or Sue's, parent do for a living? They should at least know that you're in real estate, okay? You go and I give lots of examples on coaching calls where we've become so automated that they're not talking to as many people as they could. Like when you get paid and you just wire transfer your commission into the bank. Get to know the bank manager. Go in there and talk to them. Be friendly with them. They're seeing people that are transactional every day.
Well, at our gym, Julie, there are probably at least 5 or 6 people there that have real estate licenses.
That's true.
And they know, I sound like an ass saying this, but they know who we are, but they do. But they hardly ever talk with us about real estate. Yeah. So Erin, this gal walks in the gym the other day, and she's dressed really nice, like she's off to an appointment. And Julie said, well, that's so-and-so. And I said, isn't she an agent? This gal sees us on a regular basis, has never really had a single real estate conversation with us. And I'm just thinking, if she's not talking with us about real estate, could you imagine bigger magnets to talk about real estate than Julie and I? She isn't talking to anybody.
Yeah.
And that just doesn't make any sense. But to her credit, though, she walking into a gym looking really nice did spark a conversation.
It did. And it made me ask her, looks like maybe you're going to a showing. And I think she was going to go tape a video. So, yeah, don't be a secret agent because there's deals all around you all the time. It's one of the points that Frederick Eklund made when you did the interview with him, selling New York, one of the biggest brokers probably in the planet. He said, it's not as hard as people think. When I walk down the street, everybody's talking and thinking about real estate all the time. They're going to buy, they're going to sell, they're going to invest, they're going to lease. As you often say, Tim, everybody needs some place to live, right? Everybody's thinking about it all the time, but are they thinking about it with you helping them think about it, asking them great questions, and being the resource?
They're going to buy or sell real estate anyway.
Yes.
They might as well just buy or sell real estate with you. Don't you get it? You are selling a product that you do not have to create the desire for. You do not have to convince people to buy what you have for sale. They all want to buy it. You just have to get in the middle. That's it.
That's it. So how do you do that? You talk about real estate. And that's what this podcast has been about today.
All right. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this today. And remember, if you want the notes, just go to harrisrealestatedaily.com and subscribe. Have a fantastic day. We'll talk with you on the show tomorrow.